Hi everyone, welcome back to another foundation road test. If this is your first time here, welcome. Today we're looking at the brand new Sunday Riley, the Influencer Foundation. This just came in my Sephora order yesterday and I couldn't wait to try it out. If you want to see how this foundation wears on my 42-year-old combination oily skin, just keep watching. I have to say, I'm very impressed with the price point of this foundation because Sunday Riley, it's a skincare brand that most of us are familiar with. Their prices can be a little steep, but this foundation is $42 for 1.08 ounces of product. I think a lot of us were expecting it to be priced a little bit higher than $42. There are 20 shades in this foundation. I am in shade 170, which is described as light to medium with warm beige undertones. I love that they gave us an actual skin type for this foundation. I feel like so many times when I do my foundation reviews lately, it says for all skin types, and it's never for all skin types. This specifically says it's for normal, oily, or combination skin. If this is your first time here with my foundation road test, just to let you know, I do not test them out just for one day. I do several days of tests, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how it goes. But I test it out with different primers, no primer, different powders, different application methods, just to get a good gauge for the best way to wear the foundation, because I can't get a feel for just one day, and I don't think I can give you a feel for how a foundation works after just one day. So that is what you're gonna get by the end of this foundation road test. They claim that it's a clean, long-lasting foundation with medium to full coverage. It's formulated with your skin's health in mind. It is a solution for redness, uneven skin tone, and oiliness. This is supposed to redefine the line between skincare and makeup. It provides clean, natural-looking, long-lasting coverage that doesn't dry out as the day or night goes on. It has a satin matte finish that stays fresh-looking even through workouts or humidity. Okay, that is where I want to know if this actually stands up, because I live in the South. It's hot and humid, so this could be right up my alley if it actually works the way it's supposed to. This foundation is supposed to conceal redness, pores, and dark spots without ever looking cakey. With just one pump, get perfectly even skin with ultra natural coverage. For fuller coverage and more concealing power that never cracks or creases, layer as needed without worrying about clogging your pores. No matter what your desired coverage, you're always in control and you still look like you. Now, in the next paragraph, it does say it's great for all skin types. It says it controls oil but never dehydrates your skin for a fresh, healthy-looking, shine-free complexion. Some of the ingredients give soothing effects so that even the most sensitive skin looks its best. Pores are instantly minimized for the ultimate smooth canvas. And they do say that you can use a brush or fingers or whatever foundation tool that you want. A lot of times foundations will specify what they want us to apply it with, so that is refreshing. I'm gonna skip on over to my application and check-ins and then the summary. So I'm using my sponge today. This is the L'Oreal sponge with half my Hourglass Veil primer and half no primer over here. And then tomorrow I'll use different primers and I'll use a brush and see how it goes then. So the consistency looks like, oh, it's kind of liquidy. It looks like it might be a little bit dark, so it could be good for summer, but I may have to take some bronzer down my neck. With any new foundation, I always dip my sponge directly into it and then apply it in sections on my face, because I don't know how quickly these foundations are gonna dry and I don't wanna end up patchy or anything like that on my face. Yeah, it's a little dark, but it may end up working. We'll see. I'll take it down the neck a little bit and then use some bronzer on my neck if I have to. I actually think for summertime, the shade might not be bad, but you can see the redness that I have going on over here from a rosacea flare-up, and the redness has been concealed over here. I don't think it's full coverage whatsoever with a sponge, but it does look really nice and natural on the skin. So let's do the non-prime side and see how this goes. I feel like I have about half left. It's gradually been running down my hand as I have been applying it. I just used the whole rest of what was on my hand, so I'm gonna have to pump some more out for sure. I don't feel like a little goes a long way with this foundation. And I am a sponge lover. I love to apply my foundations with sponges, but you know, if they apply easily, I have been known to apply them with a brush too. Okay, So I feel like that's one layer of product, and it did cover the redness really, really nicely. It's definitely setting to a satin finish. I am one that has to set my foundations anyway. So if you're borderline with setting your foundations and you're oily combination like me, you may want to set this one. It's not a matte finish or even really a demi matte finish. I feel like it's a satin matte finish. Satin matte finish, a satin finish. So this is of course before I have any other makeup on, but I feel like it did conceal my redness nicely. Like if I wanted to go out with a natural coverage on and not worry about concealing, I could do this. It kind of blurred my sunspots on my nose a little bit. I can still see these two sunspots. I'm gonna finish doing my face and then come back. My makeup is finished. I am very happy with the way everything applied over it. I did top it with my It Bye Bye Pores pressed powder. My skin has a nice natural look to it that I'm liking. So I do like it considering the amount of coverage that it did give, especially with that first go round. It really did even out the redness nicely, and it feels really lightweight on the skin. I feel like it's giving my skin the look that it would have if it was normal. Not dry, not combination or oily, just completely normal. So I'm anxious to see how this wears throughout the day. I'll do a midday check-in and an end of day check-in. I'll try it out for a couple more days using different primers and powders and application methods, and I will give you my summary at the end. I have high hopes for this one, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Been 9 hours and 15 minutes and I'm getting ready to wash my face. I blotted with blotting papers and touched up one time. Oh wait, I did blot one more time. It's felt really good on the skin. At one point I kind of forgot I was wearing foundation today. I don't think it settled anywhere weird. I'm gonna wash my face. I will test this out using a brush and different primers and all that tomorrow. Okay, so today I have it on with an Origins primer, that foamy Origins primer on this side, and then no primer on this side. So I wanna see how they do in comparison. I did notice that it looked smoother as far as pores go on this side with the primer. I applied it with a dry beauty blender today because I don't know, I'm not really a fingers application person, and I find I can just get a faster application with a dry beauty blender and get more coverage. It took a pump and a half, which was less than when I used a damp beauty blender and about the same as when I used with a brush yesterday. So it looks really good. It looks nice and natural. I got a little bit more coverage out of it today. I've had this on maybe an hour so far. So of course it's looking pretty fresh right now, and I'll check in later. It's been about 5.5 hours, maybe a little bit more than that. The prime side, which is this side, looks better in terms of pores and texture than the non-prime side. I felt that way the other day too. I don't know if you can see, but just on the nose and here, I feel like you can just see more texture than you can over here. My makeup looks good. It's on my face. I mean, it's been 5.5 hours, which I mean, you know, is a pretty decent length of time. I've only blotted once with a tissue. It has not gotten excessively shiny or anything like that. So I'll update you again. I blotted again and applied powder about an hour ago, and then kind of blotted again just absent-mindedly after that, just with a tissue. I feel like it's got just a natural satin demi-matte finish. Like if you get close, sometimes around this time, foundations can get that kind of powdery look right here between the brows and kind of start settling in. It's not doing that. It's not resettling into creases or anything like that. My makeup is still on my face and we are good. I'm getting ready to wash my face. So that is today's end of day check-in. So I'm in natural light right now. I always try to give you a day where I'm either in my car or in some kind of a natural lighting situation so you can see what's going on. It's definitely a sheer to medium finish. I applied it with a dry sponge today over my Hourglass primer. It looks natural. I do feel like it can settle into my forehead lines if I'm not careful, but that's what we've got going on today. It's been on for a couple hours now. So it's been almost 9 hours. I wanted to show you what it's kind of done every day around this point. I feel like I get maybe about 6 to 7 hours of good wear, and then it kind of starts to fade a little bit. You can see the color cosmetics are a little bit gone. It's faded around my nose. This red spot's starting to peek through my chin, and then it does start to get a little creasy right there in that little forehead wrinkle. So I just wanted to note that today. I've worn this foundation for a solid week. I have some thoughts on it. I have my notes right here so I won't forget anything. That's what I'm gonna be glancing at if you see me looking to the side. So I did wear it more days than what I showed in the check-ins, but I don't always show you every day that I wear a foundation because it sometimes makes the video a little bit too long, but I always give you my thoughts on what I think about it overall. I've now had this foundation on about 10.5 hours. This is the same makeup I've had on in the last 2 check-ins. In terms of application, I think it applies really nicely, quickly, and easily. It does blend out well with my fingers or a sponge. I don't really like it with a brush. I have some dryness going on right here because I changed retinol products. I'm testing out something and I am getting a little bit of dryness. And the brush did accentuate that dryness a little bit. So I did prefer to use fingers or a sponge. Now, I'm not usually a fingers person because it typically takes me a little longer to use my fingers unless I just slap it on like a lotion. And I didn't really like doing that with this foundation because I felt like it never quite set like I wanted it to set on my face. It didn't dry down fully. So I prefer a sponge. Now, having said that, a damp sponge is going to really sheer the coverage out a lot. I get sheer to medium coverage with this foundation. I wouldn't even say medium full. And I typically don't really want a full coverage foundation on a daily basis. I'm fine with the sheer to medium coverage, and I would say it gives medium coverage that blurs, which is good. I would like that kind of finish. It's a very natural, very skin-like finish. So I do like to apply this with a dry sponge. This is a method not a lot of people use these days. Most of us use our sponges dampened. I use a dry sponge when I don't want to mess with my fingers or it takes longer with my fingers. I don't want to use a brush, and I want more coverage than a damp sponge will give me. And that is what I prefer to use with this foundation. I do think this foundation feels super lightweight on the skin, and I do like that. I feel like my skin can breathe with it on. When they say that this foundation gives medium to full coverage, I just don't see that. I don't get medium to full coverage out of this foundation at all. Although I'm looking at the front of the bottle, and I do think it does give natural looking coverage, a lightweight feel, and a satin matte finish. So those claims, I would say, ring true for me. I do find that I need to use a good primer and a good powder for this to last on my face for even 7 or 8 hours. If I wore it without a primer, it looked okay with my pores, but it didn't look nearly as good as it did when I wore a good primer that I just know works for me. Mine that I like the best was the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. If you've been watching my channel, I know that's not a big shock to you. That is a primer that works really well for me. Primers are so individual. I'll put some down below so you can see some that I like that work for my oily combination skin. And I'll put some powders down there too, so you have some good setting powder options if you're looking for some. I do feel like it gives a soft demi-matte appearance once I set it, which is really nice. It does look nice and natural and skin-like, which I personally really like. One thing to note about this foundation is that when I applied it and then kept doing things on my face, like my under eye concealer or anything that I needed to do before I actually set the foundation with powder, I tend to crinkle up my face, and my forehead lines do that, which is really attractive, right? It always creased really badly in these lines. So I had to smooth them out and get the makeup out of those creases before I could set my face. If you're someone who doesn't like to set your foundation, you may have some settling into fine lines. Without primer, it does crease in my forehead lines. It does require blotting more. When I wear a good primer with this, on a 10-hour day or a 9-hour day, I did need to blot with blotting sheets and touch up with translucent powder 2 or 3 times. So I wouldn't say that it is maintenance free, and by any means, at least not if you have my skin type. I've seen some oily combination skin people say that this just slides right off their face. They can't keep it on in their oily areas, and I really didn't have that problem. It did stay for the most part on my T-zone, aside from every now and then it would crease in my little forehead line. But I do feel like I had issues more around this area, and I don't typically have a lot of issues in that area. And that again happens around the 7 or 8 hour mark. So I kind of think the marketing for oily or combination skin might be a little bit off too. This might be geared more towards normal skin, maybe even dry skin too. I'm not sure. I haven't really seen a whole lot of reviews on this for dry skin at this point yet. So I like the packaging, I like the consistency, I like the way it makes my skin look and feel. My face actually does feel kind of nice when I go to wash it. After I wash it, it just doesn't feel like it's been clogged with makeup all day. So I think for me, what I am feeling about this foundation is that it's a good foundation, but did it live up to the expectations that I had for this foundation? I love Sunday Riley, I love the skincare, so I had really high expectations for this particular foundation. I don't necessarily feel like it lived up to that, partially because when I went into this, I was expecting a long wear, medium to full coverage foundation. It did give me the natural looking finish. It did give me the lightweight feel. It did give me the satin matte finish, but it didn't give me long wear and it didn't give me medium to full coverage. I do like the medium to sheer coverage that I got, but I don't know if I'm okay with that 7-ish hours of good wear, because I don't have that many days that are only going to be that amount of time. I don't know about you, but I work full time and I need a foundation that's going to last a full work day without coming off of my nose or my chin or any other little area like that. My Chanel Lumiere Velvet lasts me a full work day. It Bye Bye Lines lasts me a full work day. I've just got others that are a little bit more reliable than this. So I would say this would probably be more of like a quick day or an errands running day kind of a foundation, which isn't really what I thought I was going to get from this foundation. Even though I do like what it does when it looks good for the period of time that it looks good. I hope that makes sense. I think if you're looking for a sheer to medium natural looking foundation and you don't need a tremendous lengthy wear time out of it, and you're good with setting things decently, you would like this foundation. I don't know if this would hold up in really hot and humid weather either. That is a big doubt for me because of how it does wear on the nose. I really don't think it's a bad foundation, and I do think it could be worth trying if you're looking for this particular kind of foundation. I wouldn't go into this thinking you're gonna get full coverage though. This is one of those rare foundation reviews where I'm not saying I really love it, I'm not saying I really hate it, because I don't really love it, I don't really hate it. I don't think it's a bad foundation. I don't think it performed poorly for me once I kind of figured out what to do with it, how to apply it, what to wear it with. It just didn't give me what it was claiming. So if you go into it with those expectations, I think you'll be okay, and it's worth trying to see if you like it for yourself. Have you tried this foundation yet? Are you going to? If you have, what do you think about it? I want to hear your thoughts on it down below. If you are new here, I would love for you to stick around, hit that subscribe button, become part of the family. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.